The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Watch live at 5 p.m. weekdays on YouTube. Join the conversation on 0808 1717 700. Talking Scottish football first.
Well, this time tomorrow night we'll be at Hampden. Kick-off at 5 o'clock. Scotland against Japan. Less than 3 months to go until the World Cup. With us tonight, Barry Ferguson, as always, on a Friday evening. And someone who's not been seen, you've not even seen Barry for over a year, Stephen McGinn, the Falkirk coach. Stephen, great to have you back in.
Yeah, great to be back, Paul.
Great bit of managers talk, you and Barry there. I've recorded it. I'm going to put it out live during the programme. Barry, who would have thought last year you two wouldn't see each other for such a long time? You got to Rangers, him now at Falkirk.
Yeah, I know. But listen, it's great to see he's done really well. He's done his apprenticeship, obviously, at St Mirren. And he's went in to Falkirk and learned his trade off a very good and experienced manager. And I actually seen him, but I seen him on the TV
That's
a
right.
couple of weeks ago.
On Sky, wasn't it? Yeah.
On Sky.
You didn't see each other at the match? No, at St Mirren that day. What about Falkirk? We're not going to go on just now. We'll talk more about it, but you must be so proud. 43 points at this stage. Top six. It's a phenomenal season.
Yeah, unbelievable. If you'd offered this at the start of the show, you needed it to start the season, you needed a point from 2 games to get into the top 6 with a semi-final on the way. We'd have bit your hand off it. So absolutely delighted with how it's going.
Barry, for tomorrow night now, for the match itself, how you feeling? We're going to hear from Andy Robertson, who hits his 91st cap, equaling Jim Leighton, second most capped player for Scotland. And we're going to hear from Stevie Clarke. There's some good stuff coming up. Andy Robertson speaking about Scotland's kept him going because he's lost his place in the Liverpool team. He does play, as we know, but not nearly as much as he did.
Yeah, he's been in and out, the Liverpool team, which I'm sure he'll be frustrated about. But listen, he's obviously going to play in these couple of games. Get yourself up to match speed. Look, in my opinion, he's still a top player. Out of contract in the summer at Liverpool. I'm sure there'll be plenty of clubs desperate to get his signature.
And Stephen, on St Mirren, I should have said immediately, because you were asked obviously on Sky, we asked you as well, but I see Craig McLeish is taking the job. He's going to be the manager till at least the end of the season, and you work closely with him in the under-18s.
Yeah, obviously still to be officially announced, but it looks like Craig's going to be taking the job to the end of the season. Yeah, delighted for him. He's obviously probably a bit of an unknown to people, but he's been in the building for nearly a decade, maybe just over a decade now. He's worked his way from every level, right from the tiny tots up at St Mirren, and really, really good coach, really confident in his coaching. He's done a lot of hours, he's prepared for a lot of games at all different levels, and I think he's surprised everyone, even in at St Mirren, with how well he's handled the media and actually just taken to the senior job, and absolutely deserved. We done him a bit of a favour by giving him the 3 points last week, which I wasn't too happy about, but absolutely buzzing for him.
You must have been gutted on that one. Barney Stewart scoring, nearly getting a second as well. And of course, the manager, the acting manager, still to be confirmed, but it's been going around for a couple of days. Played under Barry at one time, you were telling me.
Yeah, Clyde.
Craig McLeish.
Right.
Yeah. What was he like? Yeah.
No, by the way, the cultured left foot. Very good player. Obviously disappointed that it didn't go further in the game, but his name popped up. I think it was a year or two ago. I didn't know he was at St Mirren. He's just said there that he's been there for a decade or so. But listen, it's always good to see young coaches get the opportunity, Paul. And listen, he had a brilliant result last week against Falkirk. That's a tough place to go. And but it's good to see that he's probably going to get the job until the end of the season. So he'll need to go and show what he's made of. He's got 7 games to go and show that he can maybe be a future St Mirren manager.
And for you, Stephen, I get the sense from it. I left you alone on it because, I mean, we know you pretty well and we've got so much time for you here in Go Radio. You're a big part of the team. But I sense that you're loving it there at Falkirk just now, and you'll be learning a lot and bringing a lot to the party there with Paul and obviously the manager, John McGlynn.
Yeah, when I got asked about it last week on Sky, that was the truth. I wanted to retire from playing and try and land myself a job where I was learning the trade. And it would be, I said that for anything. I mean, what I'm learning every day, every week, what I've learned in the 7 or 8 months so far with John McGlynn, I mean, I was really excited when he offered me the job because I was actually playing under him was such an education. Actually working in the same office as him, how he handles things, how he makes decisions, how he signs players. I mean, he's got an amazing eye for a player. His recruitment has been nothing short of staggering when you look at guys like Keelan Adams and Barney Stewart. So just all of it, I feel like I'm so early into the journey with him in an apprenticeship, and we've got so much to look forward to. Semi-final, as you say, hopefully be part of the title race. I mean, who'd have thought that at the start of the season Falkirk would play such a big part in the title race and such an exciting time to be in Scottish football. So didn't want to walk away from it. And
Barney Stewart, what a season for him, Barry. And he's got a claim to being in the Scotland squad. It's going to be just too late. He's going to miss it this time. But what a story.
It is a great story. University football. He was a year ago. He was playing it. It just shows you that there's players out there that maybe don't get the opportunity that maybe they should. And listen, Stephen just mentioned that John McGlynn's, he's certainly got an eye for a player. And listen, he's come onto the scene, and he's a goal scorer. He's a goal scorer, the boy, and they're definitely hard to find. It's still early for him in his obviously professional career, but listen, if he continues to do what he's doing and working hard, then I think he could have a big future. And
he's on a Scotland fan saying already, guys, what's it like in football management compared to your day when you were a player? So Stephen, you first. So before, were you training for 10 o'clock or something? What's the day like now?
Yeah, well, probably, I mean, the easiest way for me is because I was a player at Falkirk. So you'd report at 10 o'clock. A Tuesday and Thursday you'd be in the gym maybe for 1 o'clock, but you could, at your leisure, you could be away for 1:30. Now under John, to be in for 8, 8:30, straight in. I mean, there's no get yourself a coffee and straight to business with the manager. And probably from we're probably, he's so organised, he's so kind of, we have what we do each day in terms of picking a team or set plays or what training's going to be. It's very kind of routine like, but you're walking in the house at 5:30, 6 o'clock. But it's not that. It's probably Barry's had it much worse as a manager. The phone's non-stop. You're always concerned about players, your own players, injuries, all sorts of feedback. So it's very non-stop.
And Barry, for you, your life changed last February in a phone call.
Well, the big difference is the hours. That's for sure. I was in at 7 o'clock, 7:15.
What, in the evening?
A lot. Along with the staff, because you've got to. I like to be organised as well, and you have to go through. You have to structure the training. You have to find out who's going to be available, because there's always some injuries. You have a meeting with the medical team, then you have a meeting with your own staff. Then you go through what training. If you've got a certain opposition you come up against, you maybe have to come up with a different plan. So it was long hours, but it's thoroughly enjoying. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure the family and my friends were happy because they never seen me. But listen, you're away from about 6:30 in the morning to about 7 at night at times. It's long hours, but it was just great to be part of it, and I enjoy the biggest thing for me is I really enjoyed the pressure, because at Rangers you're under pressure every single second. But listen, you go and try and embrace that, and that's what we try to do as a staff and a group of players.
Do you take part in the training, Stephen, given that you only retired 2 years ago?
I mean, we've probably had a few more injuries than we wanted to, which sometimes results in 11. If you've only got 19 outfield players, you have to join in. But when everyone's back fit, the semi-finals approaching, I'm sure everyone will be back fit in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
I won't have to duck in as much. But that's been one of the biggest challenges I've found in terms of picking a team or being part of the process of picking a team or a formation. There's bits where if it doesn't go well, you look back and say we probably should have done that, but you can actually live with it because you've gone with your gut instinct. But it's actually deciding on players that are maybe struggling with injury or whether to take that gamble with them, because it's their bodies, it's their health, it's their fitness, and some of them will come to you maybe know are 60-70% fit and say, no, I'm fine, I'll get through the game for you. You need to make that decision, or the manager needs to make that decision. But there's other ones that you're maybe thinking we could do with him getting back. He's no rushing himself back, and we think he's more fit than maybe him that's made himself available. So those are the biggest challenges I've found since stepping over to the other side.
Yeah, and you've got to make big decisions as a manager as well, and it's having to bring a player in and let him know before you name the team the day before the game, or sometimes I've done it 2 days before a game, and that's That's the unpleasant part of it, but that's what you have to do. Listen, you can only pick 11 players. And when you have to let somebody know that they're not playing, maybe tactically you want to change something. Sometimes you're not happy, but listen, that's life. You have to make big decisions at times. Sometimes they go for you, sometimes they don't.
Jim's on 0808 17 17 700, the Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. He's asking you, Stephen, who's going to win the title? I don't think you can say that, can you, now, as a coach at Falkirk, but what do you think? What can you say?
Honestly, I don't know. I think I'm the same as everyone. Every time you can decide on someone. Okay. I thought before the weekend passed, I thought if Celtic had got into that position with Martin O'Neill within touching distance with a manager that had won the league before, with players that had been round the course, I thought they would have maybe just pipped it. But every week they seem to have another key player out injured. Obviously it was a bad one for them at Tannadice, but Rangers obviously we've spent a lot of money in January. Their signings are starting to score. Obviously doing that business in January made them stronger, which is always that's the point of a January transfer window. But I wouldn't bet against my old manager Derek McInnes. You get down to 7. Sure. I've played under him, albeit the Championship, to win a league. He'll be chalking them off. He'll know that Rangers may be coming to Tynecastle. The games are running out. You're still top. They've been top for a long time this season. And I think they'll enjoy Celtic Rangers now being a bit closer, but they're still top. That's psychology of it.
Barry, you wouldn't write off your old teammate, Derek McInnes?
Listen, he's an experienced manager, Paul. He's managed at different levels. I think he's done I've said it many a times, I know Hearts recruitment's been really good this year, but their best signing's been the manager, in my opinion. And they've been top of the league for a long time. They've had a few difficult results, but one thing about Hearts, they've always had a reaction. He's always got a reaction off his team. Obviously suffering a defeat the week before. Then last week at home against Dundee, they come up with a win, albeit it's only 1-0. But listen, I'm sure Derry would take 7 of them until the end of the season. So I would never write Hearts off. I said that a couple of months ago. And it's I firmly believe still between Hearts, Rangers and Celtic, it is going to go down to the final game.
Alan's on saying, who's the best team you've played against as a Falkirk coach?
Motherwell.
And Motherwell, great answer. Good captain they've got there, haven't they?
No, seriously, obviously,
all right.
Hearts, Rangers and Celtic are the best teams because the league table doesn't lie. But in terms of hardest team to play against, it's Motherwell. We play them next. We need a point, obviously. We know how difficult it's be, but the thing is, they're so good with the ball. They're so good out of possession. Honestly, it's so hard to stretch them. It's so hard to disorganise them. Everyone said that, so I'm just only adding on. But what a job Jens has done this season.
But you've enjoyed watching them most of the time this season?
I've seen them live twice, and I've seen them a number of times on TV. The latest one was a few weeks back when Rangers travelled to Fir Park. They went a goal down, I think, after 4 or 5 minutes. And no, I mentioned this, that the players were just saying to each other, just calm down, let's get the ball down and play. And they never changed their style one single bit. And I know they play really good football, but also I'm not scared to go long as well. So they mix it up. As I said, everybody's speaking about Maswanisi and Just, but the 2 old ones at the back have been outstanding. They were outstanding that night at Fir Park. Stephen's brother and Stephen O'Donnell, they were excellent. But the job that he's done in a short period of time has been phenomenal, in my opinion.
And of course, he's one of the favourites for the Celtic job, if it's not Martin O'Neill next year. Although yesterday with Mark Guidi, we were just talking about it, and I see the bookies have got Robbie Keane as the favourite, and that is the word, that connection with Robbie Keane, maybe with Dermot Desmond, the Irish connection, that he is in the box seat for it. But twists and turns. A lot of Celtic fans, Anne-Marie was on earlier on saying, Jens Bertel Askew, surely he's the next manager.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I think probably everyone's the same with Celtic, a bit in the dark. We obviously who the next manager is going to be. Probably look at why they didn't spend any money in January. The communication in terms of nobody really knows if fans are going to get back in. So to try and say for sure that you know who the next manager's going to be is extremely difficult.
Of course. Barry, in his excellent column today, saying in the script here, no, I bought it again today, got the record there for you. Barry, it's a great feeling knowing that the owners are fully committed to making the Gers #1 again. And it is in the context of what's happened in this city in Scotland in the last year. Just that swing. Now, Rangers haven't won anything yet, but you're really... What's making you so...
I don't think this is short term. This is long term from a commitment from the Americans. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Listen, they showed their commitment in January, which is predominantly a tough window. And again, they're going to go and sign players in January. And then the infrastructure inside Ibrox, they're looking at spending a lot of money. It's not just on the first team players. Look, that's the most important thing, but also inside Ibrox and at the training centre, they're certainly putting their money where their mouth is. And what I like about him is, as well, he's round about everywhere in the stadium. He's getting to chat to supporters. He'll speak to anybody who's inside the main stand.
No matter what your job is, if you're a fan.
Very approachable. If you're a fan, if you work with a club, if you work in the kitchen, if you're anywhere around about Ibrox, ex-players, he's really interested in getting to know the club. And I think that's important, because you're always wary when you get new owners and they come from a different country, but you certainly want to know what the club's all about, and getting to know people and ask for your opinion, which I like. So, look, you're right, they've not won anything, but he's clearly, alongside the board, they're trying to move Rangers in the right direction, and that's what you want to see as a Rangers supporter.
And sporting director position, they're not looking to fill that permanently at the moment.
No.
Do you think it's the right thing? It sounds as though they've also got Jim Gillespie in as chief executive. There's Thornton's there, Andrew Kavanagh, and obviously 100% confidence in Danny Rule.
Yep, and look, football clubs are different. Some like going with a sporting director or a director of football, whatever way you want to put it. They've obviously decided not to go down that route. Stig Bjornaby's in, who I've met a number of times as well. Obviously played at a high level down in England. He's done the sporting director at a few clubs in Scandinavia. So he's in just now, and they must be happy. Obviously, they're clearly happy.
You happy with them?
I've met him a few times. He certainly, again, similar to the owner Andrew, he's interested in getting to know what the club's all about, and that's what you want to see when new people come from different countries. So they've took a keen interest, and they're desperate to do well, and that's all you want to see when people come into the club, Paul.
You guys can normally tell, you can smell it when somebody comes in that maybe doesn't know too much about the bluffers, as I called them, from 2025. It's going to be some season. Who's going to win it? Everybody wants to know. We'll find out. It's only 7 games to go. You only need to win 7 games. You could say that to Hearts. Well, Hearts don't need to win 7 games. If they win 5, they've 6 games. If they win 6 and then draw, it would be enough.
Listen, the last 2 games before the split's going to be key as well.
Sure.
I know the split. We'll find out. I think, what is it, the 11th or 12th of April? I think that's when the fixtures come out. But there's still 2 games to go. In terms of Rangers, they've got Dundee United, and then they've got Stevens Falkirk before the split, which, look, Dundee United had a great result last week against Celtic, but you're at home, you would fully expect it. But these are the potential banana skins. If you're not ready when you go to places like Falkirk, then you're going to be in for a long and tough day. So, still 2 games to go before the split. You need to make sure you get maximum points, which is going to be difficult. And then we'll see what the fixtures bring from the split.
Do you know what they are yet, Barry?
Well, I do know Celtic's going to be away and Hearts is going to be away.
Sure. Of course, because we know.
But then you've got Motherwood you spoke about, who have been a joy to watch. You've got Falkirk, who have just done amazing again from coming up for the championship, and Hibs, who have been pretty up and down this season, but when they're on their game, they're a very good team. So there's a lot of tough games to come, Paul.
Great for Scotland, isn't it? It's a long time.
It's brilliant, and I think we spoke just before it. This is going to be the same situation with 3 games to go. Nobody's really going to be sure with 3 games to go. There might be a faller. Someone Celtic in 3rd position might drop off, but I think it's going to go right to the wire.
You think? First caller, Martin O'Neill, who wants to take issue. No, you're right, you just don't know. Hearts are the favourites with the bookies again, then Rangers, then Celtic. We're going to talk Scotland. Here is Stevie Clark ahead of the game tomorrow. What does he think about it? Japan, then the Ivory Coast?
I think every game with the national team should be an important game. So they're both important. In terms of preparation for the summer, very important. We play against two teams, two top quality teams from different continents. They'll bring their own challenge. The Japanese side in particular have a very interesting way of playing. I found them a really good team to watch, if I'm being honest, in the preparation for the game, the way they play, the way they approach the matches. So it'll be a tough game for us. For us is to look at one or two things that are different, maybe look at one or two different personnel across the squad, try and use as many players as possible over the two games, but also to try and get positive results that we can continue to feel good about ourselves.
Stephen, really good opposition. Let's look first of all, Japan tomorrow. It's going to be quite a game.
Yeah, it's obviously going to be a really different game to what you've been used to in terms of Europe. They play a different style, but they're an absolute fixture at World Cups, which I think is important. It's a different type of game to what Scotland would normally play. And if I was listening to that interview, being the only new face in the squad, I'd be delighted if it was Finlay Curtis. And he's talking about getting to know, because he is probably the only new face in the squad, and he's wanting to have a look at new faces. So he'd be delighted if you're listening to that.
Barry, yeah, a lot's been said about Finlay Curtis this week. In fact, the manager was speaking about him.
If they're in the squad, they're one for right now.
And what have you made of him so far, mixing in with the other lads?
Yeah, good. I had really good reports on Finlay. Obviously, I'd watched him, so I knew what he could bring. He's a good young prospect, and he's acquitted himself well in training. He brings something a little bit different. People always tell me I don't look for different things. I tend to disagree with that, because I do. Ben's actually fit, which is also good news. He's continuing his rehab back at his club. He wasn't really. It didn't really make any sense to pick Ben. It didn't make sense to pick Lawrence Shankland. So the young ones are important for the future.
Certainly are. Barry, Finlay Curtis. Has he got a chance? We've got a chance to be in the squad for
well,
the
manager just says that everybody will get a bit of game time. Listen, one thing about Finlay Curtis is his attitude is unbelievable. Along with he's got good football ability, but he'll be impressed. Stevie Clark will be impressed with him. He's a humble young man as well. He's good round about the place. He's well mannered, but he's got a feisty side to him.
Has he?
Which I love it. Yeah, he's got a fight. I think you need that. I certainly think you need that if you want to play at the top level, and it's great to see that he's took the opportunity to go on loan, Paul. I've mentioned this before. It's very easy for players at clubs like Rangers to just sit about and get 5-10 minutes here and there and play an odd game. But he's looked at it in a different way and thought, no, I want to go and play first team football under different pressure as well at Kilmarnock, because they're obviously down fighting to get out of that playoff position, second bottom. He's went there and he's done really well. No doubt about it. I watched him against Hearts a few weeks back, where Kilmarnock beat Hearts 1-0, and I thought he was excellent on the night. Very good, very direct, but the great thing about him is he does the dirty side of the game really well as well. He worked really hard for his team.
Barry Ferguson, Stephen McGinn, Paul Cooney. There's lots coming up after the break.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
Huge game tonight here in Glasgow. Partick Thistle, second top of the table after a really good win the other night. They're playing Ross County, 7:45. That'll be on the telly, I would imagine, Barry, is it? Or it is. Yep. So we know what you're doing.
I didn't know. I think no playing. They played Friday, Tuesday.
Of course, Friday, Tuesday. So I know.
Football.
Yep. And Wraith Rovers against Ayr United. Scott Brown, of course, having a tough time after a really good start, but too many draws and a couple of defeats as well. And then tomorrow in the Championship, Morton, the Torn against Arbroath, and St Johnstone, table toppers against Queen's Park. Stephen McGinn, it'll be hard to catch St Johnstone, won't it? But I see Gary Mackay-Stephen, who was at Ross County 10 weeks ago, is playing for the Jags. Well, he's in the squad for tomorrow.
Yeah, and obviously an experienced sign. They've had their issues with injuries, Partick, and they play with wingers. So obviously having injuries to wingers to play that system, he needs them in. So if you can get Gary Mackay-Stephen anything back to his best, he could be a real asset for them. But I think St Johnstone have done enough now. I think they only needed to avoid defeating for Hull last week. I thought Partick could have done more to go after it. I think you obviously don't want to lose the game, but there needed to be a wee bit element of taking a risk to try and win that game, because there was so little games left against a decent St Johnstone team. That's going to be hard to make the points up.
Barry, we talked about it earlier in the week.
Yeah, I think St Johnstone are just too strong for everybody
Mm-hmm.
else. I do agree with Stephen there. I thought Partick had to win the game to have any chance of winning the league. But when you look at St Johnstone's squad as well, they did a good January. They made a few good signings as well. So, yeah, I think St Johnstone will win the league.
I'm on the Harry Ragslow tonight. Give us a call, 0808 17 17 700 if you're heading up to Firhill. If you're heading to Hampden tomorrow, let's hear from you. 0808 17 17 700. Barry, what did you make of the news last night? Callum Slattery, 4-match ban, 2 of them suspended after that incident.
I see Muddle's point, but as well.
Why them?
Why them? But when you look back at the incident, it was poor for the player. But I see Muddle's stance on it, and I tend to agree. Why only has this happened to Muddle? Because there's been a few instances of that throughout the season. So I can see why they're upset.
Stephen, surprising that I think a lot of people spoke about it because it looked to be so obvious. But I mean, the danger is they've done it in this one. The people will now say, "Wait a minute," producing evidence from different angles, saying, "Look at that off the ball."
That's been the challenge or frustration all year.
Yeah.
The kind of, not just this one. I mean, you're watching it live at the game, you couldn't believe the red card stood. I'm delighted because he'll miss a game on Saturday against Falkirk. Falls is delighted.
Yeah.
But it seems to be a bit like rules have changed. Penalties have been given, then they're not getting given the week after. The offsides have been given vets the week after. And this now, I mean, if you're Motherwell, you'd be looking through some incidents that maybe happened throughout the season and thinking, well, how did he not get banned? And would this have happened if it affected the 3 teams going for the title? Is it going to affect the team that's going for relegation? Is it because we're okay? I'd be frustrated, but I think Callum maybe would regret it in terms of the way he's went down. I think he thinks there's going to be contact and there's not contact, but I just couldn't believe it stood at the time.
Let's hear from Andy Robertson's big day. Well, everyone's a big one. Big day for him, chasing down, Jim Leighton. Tomorrow he will be on 91 caps. Yeah, Jim Leighton. He'll overtake him on Tuesday if he plays there, as you would expect. He's been speaking about that, but he's also been speaking about club and country and what it means to him, because obviously for the first time at Liverpool, he's not the first choice. It's never happened in his career. So what does he feel about things this season?
It's kept me going at times this season in Scotland duty. I can safely say that. I think especially at the start of the season when you've got it every 3-4 weeks, September, October, November, it was important for me. Obviously playing in such big games, and I think we touched on when you at the age, me and McGinn and things like that were at, realistically it could have been our last chance to qualify for a World Cup, and it gave you something to focus on, it gave you something to be a part of, and obviously the qualifying campaign went the way it went, and everything went in our favour and really well. But it's been super important. I love coming away with the country, but when you have been playing lots of games at club level, sometimes your mind can wander and things like that. But it's certainly been a big focus of mine this season, and I've enjoyed every game I've played with Scotland this season.
Barry, quite an insight there, isn't it, from the Scotland captain? He's been really frank about it. Scotland's kept him going at times.
Yeah, you can hear that he's not too happy and not getting as much game time. Look, I think Liverpool fans love him down there, and I think a lot of people are surprised that he's not played as much as he has. But the good thing is he's had a few games with Scotland. He just mentioned it. There was plenty of games, and I'm sure he'll want a few minutes under his belt because he's not had that much.
What do you make of Kerkez, who obviously took his position?
I think Andy Robertson's a lot better, if I've been honest with you. Look, Kerkez is good. He was good at Bournemouth. They paid a lot of money, but if you're asking me what one would I pick, it'd be Andy Robertson.
Stephen?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's better than Kerkez. I think it was even, I watched the Wolves game, the league game, and thought Kerkez struggled, and then they went there a couple of days later in the FA Cup, and it was like vintage Liverpool over the last 5 years, where Robertson's found a lovely ball for Salah to tap it in, and you're thinking he's going to get his place back in the team, and Kerkez comes back in it. I understand, obviously, the manager's paid quite a lot of money for Kerkez. He's younger, he sees him as a future, but it does feel a wee bit end of the era stuff at Liverpool. Obviously, Firmino and Mane, Trent have left in the last few years, and then Robertson. But just even having him as such a key part of Liverpool's era, I think he's got a lot to be proud of. And I think even the amount of caps, I know just from John, some of his early caps were horrible. It was a half-empty Hampden, a lot of really disappointing results, not really looking like there's light at the end of the tunnel. So I think that's the bit that he's going to walk out tomorrow night, obviously equaling 91 caps, as the Scotland captain with a World Cup to look forward to. So he's got a lot going for him as well.
He sure has.
I think when you then, the only time I really think about it is when you then go and match somebody, or you go and, obviously tomorrow, I know there's a chance to go and match Jim Leighton, which then, you're kind of joint second, which is something I could only have ever dreamed of. But, I don't give it too much thought. But when you do, you kind of hit these landmarks, then it's always nice to remind yourself, I think there was a period when I equalled Darren Fletcher and things like that, then there's been a bit of a long slog to try and catch Jim. So, hopefully tomorrow I can do that. And then there's only, I suppose for me, then there's only one more to catch.
Kenneth Matheson Dalglish, of course, 102 caps, Sir Kenny. So, Barry, it is incredible. And we'll hear a bit more about Kenny and Andy Robertson, who knows him so well there at Anfield. But it's a purple patch just now, isn't it? It's this young team. They're now 30, 31, but it's been a golden era of players that have come through. Yeah,
listen, they've been excellent since Steve Clark's took over the reins, qualifying for the Euros on a couple of occasions. Probably not doing themselves justice, if I'm being honest with you. But the big one was getting to the World Cup. And you hear Stevie Clark talking about now he's looking for the younger ones to start come through, because, listen, they can only go on for so long, some of these players. But they've done, listen, I think they've done amazingly well. And in terms of the manager, some of the criticism at times I felt was just way overboard.
Why is that, do you think? Why does he attract
I don't know. It's just that I think he's done a brilliant job. And look where we were to where we are now since he's come into the job. I mean, it was a slow burner because we weren't great to watch at times. But listen, we found a way to get results, and then we started to progress a wee bit. And then you look at the game to qualify. I thought in that qualification we weren't great, but you know what? We found a way to win, and that's key in football, Paul. When you don't play to your potential, you find a way to win a game of football, and this is what this group of players have done, and they thoroughly deserve, in my eyes, to go to the World Cup.
And mentioning those players, golden generation, John McGinn. I mean, back at Villa just now, you first, Barry, on that. The difference, Villa, you just see it. I think everyone's so proud, as we are, of Andy Robertson, vice-captain at Liverpool. And there's John, captain at Villa, and how they missed him when he was injured.
Well, it's not a coincidence that I thought Villa's form and performance went down a wee bit. He's just, he's a key player for Villa. He's come back, he scored a few goals, big player for Villa, big player for Scotland. And again, he's another one that when you watch him at St Mirren, then he goes to Hibs, and then you're thinking, right, he goes down to the Championship at the time. But the levels that he's went to over the last number of years, again, has been amazing. And in my opinion, he's turned into a top midfielder.
Is he the best in the family, do you think? Because I know Neil Lennon, we know this one, Stevie, he says he's not even the best in the family.
He's been playing at Motherwell this year. He's been like Baresi at the back.
That's it. How's Paul reacting to that one, the Baresi?
Well, it's probably similar. I mean, Paul was close to tears walking off Easter Road last year. He came back, he'd been out all season last year, and he redone the injury. And I think he was quite sensitive, Paul. He's thinking, that could be me. This is just going to keep happening. I'm not going to play again. And then you go and have, I was going to say the best season of his career. Paul's been really good for a good 6 or 7 years now. Really good, at a really high level. He played at St Mirren and then Hibs. He get player of the year at St Mirren. So I think he's just getting more notice now. But he's absolutely loving it. I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for the way Motherwell play, because his recovery pace, he's still quick. Even though he's 35, he's still quick. So Motherwell can play at the halfway line because he's able to sweep everything up as a fullback. But yeah, John, I was down at the Everton game when he got injured the first year. Mum and Dad were quite kind of upset, thinking that could be the World Cup. So delighted he's back on the pitch. And there's always, I mean, when you're not playing and the team's not winning, you become a superstar as well. So there was a little bit of kind of pressure on him to go in and grab it by the scruff of the neck and hit the ground running, which isn't always the case. I'm sure Barry's had that wearing the armband at Rangers, even come back for the second spell. I played in a reserve game and about 5,000 Rangers fans came because Barry first came back.
Right?
But there's a lot of noise and expect you just to be the main man the next day. So it couldn't really have went any better. He's come back with a couple of goals. Villa are back winning again, so all's good.
A great goal again the week before and last weekend. A peach, maybe the goal of the weekend. Did you coach him in that one, Stephen? Just say yes.
It's something. I mean, probably Unai Emery's quite hard on him about his goal scoring, because when he scores that goal, he makes it look so easy. He's got such a good left foot, and you're thinking every time round the edge of the box, just pass it in and make it. I know it's easier said than done, but he's adding goals to his game, and very hard manager to please, and he's keeping them pleased.
He's so intense at the touchline, at the sideline. Sorry, watching him some of the game. But listen, he's a top man. You just need to look what he's done in his career. But watching him sometimes, when I'm watching the games, he's mental at his side.
Yeah. I might have told this story before. We went down for the last game of the season. Villa had qualified for Europe under him, and I can't remember if it was the first time back in Europe or the Champions
League.
The game was on a Sunday. All the last games in the Premiership on a Sunday, so there was a staff party inside Villa Park that night. Good night. Next day, obviously, everyone a bit tender. John needed to go and collect his boots on the Tuesday for international break, so my kids were down. He took the kids in. We'll show you the pool and stuff like that. Got to the reception. Is anyone in? No, nobody's in. Everyone's away. So he's saying to me, John saying, "Oh, come on, I'll show you the gym. They've done it up." We went into the gym. Unai Emery is on the bike. So bear in mind, this is a manager that lives in Spain. He's he quite often back to Spain to see family and his personal life back there. He was watching a game back from a game that they had secured Europe. And John saying, "Hi boss," and stuff like that. He said, he's pulled him over and he's gone through bits of the game, not just for John, but bits that they hadn't done.
And the season's finished.
The season's done 2 days before.
Wow.
You think the managers, I mean, when he asked at reception, the receptionist didn't even know the manager was in.
And seeing life, it just shows you, no matter what you're doing, that people that are brilliant at their job, I'm sure they're really, really good, but they work hard as well. It just doesn't happen by accident.
Genius.
I'm sure Stephen does it. See when I was in the role last season, I was going back and we would spend a bit of time with analysts and go through it, and I would get them to put it on the computer, because I would go back at night and then look again. I just felt myself, and then sometimes you would wake up and think, "Oh, maybe I might change that." And some of the stuff that went through your head at night was crazy. So it's never ending. It's 24/7.
Masterclass here and coaching and reaching the top, because it is. You know what was it? Gary Player said that the harder I practice, the luckier I become. You know, the great golfer, and that's true. Gonna have to take a quick break.
You're just a bit worried in case you miss something. So I always like to go over it and then go over it and go over it just before you obviously relate to the players. But there was always something that went wrong. You'd be like, "I never put that bit in."
He was always playing back. It was 2-2 at Celtic Park late in the game. There's going to be another goal. It's Rangers, yours. That was one of the highlights for you. Listen, I need to take a break and then we're back. We're going to take your calls. 0808 17 17 700.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
It's the international weekend. It's going hell for leather, as we all know, in the Premiership. Barry, everyone's loving it. Even, Rangers fans not happy the other week. Too many draws. Suddenly they're right back in second top. Celtic loving life under Martin O'Neill, who's resurrected them after the Wilfred Nancy month. But then they lose at the weekend. But Hearts still there. But we stop because of the international, which we need to, because we're only, 84 days to the World Cup. But it's, in some ways, it's a pity it takes some of the wind out the sail of the title race.
Yeah, from a Rangers point of view, obviously the last couple of results, going away to St Mirren, the weather conditions weren't great. I wasn't at the game, I only seen it on TV, but you were there. It was pretty windy, the pitch, but take that away, it was one of the worst games I've seen, if I'm being honest with you. But it was a case of just getting the 3 points and getting out of there, and they managed to do it. And then a very good performance against Aberdeen. That's what then you want, a game right away. So obviously a game, no a game, sorry, for 2 weeks, which is a bit of a blow for Rangers, because you start to build a bit of momentum. But that's just the way it is. It's the same for Celtic. It will be the same for obviously Hearts. You just need to deal with these situations. Just maybe get a bit of rest and clear up a few maybe niggly injuries, and then just get back to business against Dundee United. But if you're winning games, you want just the next game to come thick and fast.
Darren's on a Celtic fan saying, Barry, you're not going to write off Celtic, but do you feel now as though it's between Rangers and Hearts?
No, I wouldn't write Celtic off. Even with again, I'll go back to the pitch, but I thought Dundee United dealt with the pitch so much better than Celtic. Celtic were really poor. Dundee United thoroughly deserved their win, but no, I would not write off Celtic. I think it's, as I mentioned earlier on in the show, I think it's going to get right down to the wire. Probably 3 of them are still in it for me.
Celtic 5 points behind Hearts, just 2 behind Rangers. Can't write off anyone, Stephen. It's it's never been in your lifetime. It's 40 years ago since Hearts' last day of the season. Celtic were scoring lots of goals at that point. Peter Grant was making that point on this show the other night, and he said Hearts are the favourites. So,
making all the goals. I was going to say surely not.
Oh yeah, well, he's involved. He said Rangers are the favourites for him. Hearts are there with Peter Grant.
I know. I was watching it, nearly fell off my chair when he said that.
Yeah, but that's what he said. Obviously, Hearts in the box seat.
It's a bit of mind games for Grant.
Do you think so?
Yeah,
I know.
definitely.
I have to listen very carefully to what they all say, because they'll sometimes say, well, the so-and-so's the favourite. So what are you saying? Well, they're the favourites. Are you saying they're going to win it? Well, I'm not quite saying that. But I think Peter did say he thought...
I think you would be a fool to write Celtic off.
Okay.
I think you would be.
Stephen?
I think they've probably used the last bad one. I think Celtic... Obviously, with the points one, I think they could have afforded one more bad one. You're thinking, getting into the split, they might need to use a bad one because there's some really good sides, some really difficult games. Now they need to be pretty flawless. But there's a story here for one of the three. We even look at where Rangers were at earlier in the season, sitting in the bottom 6, probably about 6 or 7 games in. Celtic obviously having Martin O'Neill twice and all that's going on with that. And then just there's something about Hearts being top of the league for so long for me, and not that I'm saying they're the favourites, but you just, if you look back on Hearts' season right now, if the season stopped now, scoring 2 last minute winners against Hibs, the amount of times they've dug out 1-0s when everyone at the game, the other team saying that they deserve to get something, and the amount of times they've won a game like champions, and they've probably not been given credit for it because they've no experience. Everyone expects the team that's challenging Celtic Rangers to drop off eventually, but there is a lot to be said for a team that's sat top of the league for such a long length of time.
If you think about it, Stephen's right. He's just rejigged my brain there. You think back to October when Rangers went to Falkirk and drew 1 each, and I'm thinking after the game, I remember watching it thinking we have absolute no chance this season. I'd already quietly written it off, but then that's where you've got to give the new manager credit and the group of players. They've found a way to get back into it, which I never thought would have been possible after playing Stevens Falkirk, because Rangers went 1-0 up early, didn't they?
They scored, Cornelius cut one back from the offside just before half
right.
time. We
and then the second half, yous were all over the top us, and then that was the end of Russell Martin's reign, and then obviously Danny Rose came in and revitalised it and got us back into a title fight where, as I said, Paul, I never thought that would have happened.
Here's Falkirk's finest on the line, not John McGlynn, who may well be, or Barney Stewart. It's Robbie. Hi, Robbie. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, Paul. Good evening. I want to make 2 points. I'll make the Celtic manager's job to Stephen McGinn, and I want to make a point just since Barry's there. I'm just wanting to make a Rangers point, even though I'm a Celtic fan, about Chermiti to Barry. But I'll go with the Stephen McGinn one first. Stephen, earlier this week I was talking about the Celtic manager's job. I made a couple of points to Peter Grant, and the 2 names that I threw in there was Jens Bertolaescu and John McGlynn. I understand that you grew up a Celtic fan and that, and you're on the backroom staff at Falkirk, but I just want to give me a wee bit of background on John McGlynn, and if you think, you didn't need to say Celtic, if he could actually manage at a higher level than Falkirk. So you obviously can, I'm looking for him maybe to be the Celtic manager, but you need to watch what you're saying, I understand that. But I'm just wondering, what is John McGlynn like when it comes to the tactical side of stuff and the man management? Because obviously some managers out there like Martin O'Neill, it's more he's more as the sort of kind of man manager and getting the best out of players that way, and you get some that are more of the tactical. I can imagine that John McGlynn's really, really good on the training field, and I can actually really, really imagine him combining both really well. He knows about half-time team talks and how to treat young players. Can you just give me a wee bit of background, Stephen, if he could maybe go to a higher club than Falkirk and just what is he like as a manager, basically?
Well, you're trying to get me lynched here because the Falkirk fans have got a campaign trying to make a statue of the man. And you want me to tip him away? No, listen, John, he's probably he's really deep thinking man. He's really intelligent. He thinks about his work constantly. He's always looking for ways to improve. Even in his he's in his 60s now. He's been managing for a long time. He's still so open to new ideas. Honestly, see the amount of times he'll come in the next morning, he's maybe been watching, could be a Champions League game, could be a League 2 in England game, could be a Championship, saying, I liked what that, and he'll go into the analyst and say, can you dig that out? I really like that. There'll be ones, honestly, some games you think, he's not on social media, how does he even come across it, like a Como set play, Cesc Fabregas, maybe the way they've done a kick-off.
I like that
he
one.
Is, I've played with him now on his staff. He's top drawer, honestly. He gets the credit now because his body of work's so good. It's so impressive. He's got a dressing room in there that would take bullets for him. Even when they're dropping him, they can't say a bad word to him. It's such a unique skill he's got. I know, and he's taken a lot of these guys from League One to now Premiership football, so there's a bit of loyalty and money in the bag with the players, but he's so honest with them. There's no any lies, there's nothing they can go back and say, oh, you told me this. He's so genuine. He's still so heavily, even for me, the coach, you're trying to sometimes say, no, just take a step back. He wants to be so hands-on. I think sometimes because of his age and because he's Scottish, I think he's the best manager he's ever been at his age. Right. I think he's I played against his Rafe Rovers team. I thought they were so good. I think his coaching, his management's gone to a whole new level. And we are delighted that he wasn't away to Aberdeen.
Well, some people thought Aberdeen
because he's operating at such a high level that you're always worried that you might lose him. But it just us as staff and players, we think we can beat anyone in this country when we get it right, and a lot of that is down to him.
He's looking for a contract extension, a wage rise.
Giovanni McGlynn, if that was the name, maybe. Robbie, the news is in about a minute and a half. You wanted to ask Barry a question?
I just want to make it a wee bit, just since Barry's on. Barry, see this guy Chernity, I've seen him against obviously scoring at Celtic Park. 2 goals against Celtic, that one with came on the touchline and put it in, and the one with the flick. I've seen him scoring 2 goals against Hearts, and the recent ones against Celtic, one of them was an overhead kick. Barry, I'm just want to make the point, this guy seems to me, when I see the way he's taking the goals, he looks like an absolute natural. See the way his touches and all that, and the way they type of goals is like a kind of, from a Celtic point of view, like a Musa Dembele, kind of Edward, kind of. I think he's an absolute. But what is wrong with him that he's actually? It's like only the big games, and he's no. Is that a psychological thing that he only gets to set up for the big games, Barry? Because he's some player like when I see him finishing.
Okay,
like,
Barry.
That has come up for debate, but see, in terms of the ingredients you would want in a centre forward, he has them all. He's strong, powerful. He can finish. He's just not been consistent enough. That's the thing. It's labelled at him. I've watched him now all season, and even when he wasn't scoring, I could see really good attributes. It's just getting that, just being that 20 plus a season. That's what he needs to get at. But he has all the abilities. He's got everything you would want in a centre forward.
So is it psychology then?
I just think he works better with a partner.
Right. Yeah.
Because I thought some of the games at times he was quite isolated. But when he's getting fed and he's getting ammunition for the wide areas, and Nadiri's been playing up round about him, he looks a better player. But I agree, the only thing that's going against him is he's not scoring on a regular basis. He's done it in the big games. He's proved he can handle the pressure.
Celtic.
But I'm being greedy. I want to see that against your St Mirrens and your Kilmarnocks and teams like that.
Stephen, what do you make of him?
Yeah, well, we've not really came up directly against him. Right. Obviously, we've played Rangers early in the season when it wasn't quite happening for him, and I watched him last week against St Mirren, and probably as Barry said, coming off the back of the 2 Celtic games where couldn't have really. I know the team ended up. There was a bit of negativity, but for him personally, he must have been high as a kite. And I thought there was goals there, even that second half. Once it got to 1-0, you think back to guys I played against in Barry's team, your Kenny Millers, Chris Boyd. They're seeing 1-0 as a chance to get the second and the third and keep topping it up. He's probably just missing that wee bit, which will come. And if he gets that bit right, he goes for big money.
Robbie, good call. Quick break, the news is next, then we're back.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Watch live at 5 p.m. weekdays on YouTube. Join the conversation on 0808 1717 700. Talking Scottish football first.
And a good call from Robbie and Falkirk there just ahead of the news. Robbie wants to see either Jens Bertel Askew or John McGlynn as the manager. So it wasn't awkward there, Barry, was it? Given that he's the gaffer of Stephen McGinn. But it's great to hear proper praise for John McGlynn.
And so he should get praise, Paul. Not just with the job. I know he's done a fantastic job at Falkirk in terms of two promotions into the Premier League. They're probably everybody's favourites to go back down, but for me they're going to seal their place in the top six. And what a season it's been! But even previous to that, his Wraith Rovers team was, I think Stephen mentioned it, they were a very good team to watch as well. It annoys me at times that Scottish managers and players tend to get overlooked at times for jobs up in Scotland.
That's true. Yourself included last summer. But that's another story. I don't know that's not what you meant there. Jack's on saying, I'm off to Partick Thistle. I'm not going to come on just now, but I think we will win tonight and keep us in touching distance of St Johnstone at the top. But I know it's going to be really, really tough, but he's keeping the faith for the Jags against Ross County. And any United fans, you'll be on your way to Kirkcaldy for the match with Wraith Rovers. Tomorrow, Morton against Arbroath, St Johnstone, Queen's Park. And then a full house, we would imagine, pretty much at Hampden for the game with Japan. Is Stevie Clark going to try anything new for tomorrow and for Tuesday?
No, I'll try and do it independent, maybe two different ways of playing across the two matches. But there's always the possibility to change within a match, to try and change the way the match is going. Whether if it's not going well for you, maybe to change it. If it's going well for you, maybe to change it and see it out in a different way.
I wonder what changes that might be. Or you said it would be in game, Stephen. What would you expect him to be? I mean, Finlay Curtis might be, given the fact he's the only one that we haven't seen.
Yeah, I'm probably. I can't really see him changing much, to be honest. I think qualifying for the World Cup, going to the World Cup, is it going to be his last, hopefully more than 3 games, but is it going to be his last games? He's stuck by all these guys over the whole period. Unless he wakes up and becomes a new person, he's not going to radically change how he works. This is how he operates. This is what brings him success. I think any young player, any new player coming into the squad has to break either way into that system. I don't think they're going to change a system for a young player. Ben Doak, to an extent, changed it slightly, but that coincided with injuries to Kieran Tierney and Andy Robertson. I expect going into the World Cup, if Kieran Tierney and Andy Robertson are fit, to be the back five in the four in midfield.
Barry, you would agree, I would imagine. I mean, one of the big talking points is who's the goalkeeper. You've obviously got first-hand knowledge of your own keeper at Falkirk. For Craig Gordon, he must be desperately hoping to get fit because he did so well for us early in the season. Yeah,
I think you really hope. I mean, you know, hearing brilliant news about Craig. I think it's going to be a real fight for him to make it there. You'd like him to cap off a wonderful, not just club career, Scotland career. It'd be great to have on the plane. I actually thought Angus Gunn, coming in for a bit of criticism, had a couple of his better games recently. I've obviously got a bias with Scott Bain. Sure. I think he's been as good as anyone in the league this year. In goals, playing regularly, knows what it's like to play for a big club. I think he's a kind of fresh option for Steve Clark in terms of ticks six box of being inexperienced. He's played in Celtic Rangers games. But following on from my last point, as much as I'd love Scott to play, I think he'll go with his tried and trusted. I think he'll play Angus Gunn.
That's what he does. Barry, would you expect the same?
Yeah, I see where Stephen's coming from. I do tend to agree, but I just look and think Scott Bain's the only one that's playing regular. Just give him go and give him a shot and see how he does. He's not a young goalkeeper. He's an experienced goalkeeper. I know he didn't play a lot at Celtic, but he's been in an environment where there's been pressure on him. He's went to Falkirk this year, and as I said, he's been outstanding. So I see Stephen's point. He may stick with Angus Gunn, but I would put Scott Bain. And
You would?
And
Yep.
look, I know Liam Kelly. I brought Liam Kelly
That's
in,
right.
and Liam Kelly was, for me, I always thought he was a good goalkeeper, but until I actually worked with him every single day, I was so impressed by him. Again, just brilliant attitude running about the place, and a really good goalkeeper. So out of the three of them, the only one that's playing regularly is Scott Bain.
Scott Bain,
I would go and give him a bash.
You wonder if Liam Kelly, and I know he loves it at Rangers, but if he thinks, if I was still at Motherwell, I could well be the Scotland goalkeeper just now, because if he was playing regularly, hey, we'll never know. Stevie Clark was asked that classic question, what's the mood in the camp?
Similar spirit, similar attitude, probably a little bit more excitement. The players understand what they've achieved. It was nice to meet, for me personally, it was nice to meet up with them on Monday. We had a quiet day together Monday, where we could reflect a little bit on what we had achieved in the qualifying campaign, because obviously I'd gone 3 months without seeing them. They go back to their clubs after the qualifying. So that was nice to catch up, reflect on what we did, the journey that we'd had to get the qualification, to look back on that a little bit. But it was also nice at that stage to be able to sit with them and say, look, this is what we've organised for the summer, this is what we think the summer's going to look like in terms of organisation, where you're going to stay, where you're going to train, what our plans are. And it was nice to be in a position to do that and show them that.
And Stephen, what a high that was, wasn't it? We'll never forget that qualifying.
Yeah, unbelievable. One of the great nights. And probably Hampden comes in for criticism. But I think it needed that type of night. It needed that type of moment that you'll always remember for that last minute goal to send you to World Cup. But I was just laughing listening to Steve Clark there, thinking there'll be about 15-20 boys sitting watching that video saying this looks brilliant, can't wait for that, and I'm going to try that once I'm there. And the training, there'll be about 5 or 6 sitting sweating saying, I'm not sure if I'm going to be here, I kind of get excited about that.
Barry, Stevie Clark, you're right. He's got such a great atmosphere among the players. You can hear it. We'll hear a bit more from Andy Robertson. John McGinn's big part of it. Lots of them. Kieran Tierney. I know he's been in and out with injury. It's like a club side.
I think that's one of the big reasons that they've been successful. Know that we've got very good players. We've got top players, in fact, that are playing at the highest level. I just think there's a real togetherness with this group of players. And I think that's the reason why they've been pretty successful. And you can hear every time they talk about it, they're looking forward to meeting up. You never, very rarely do you see any call-offs as well. So that tells me that they're desperate to be in camp, and they all obviously enjoy each other's company. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons why they've been a successful team.
Here's Andy Robertson.
Yeah, we do. It's it's a kind of cliche in football, but the squad of boys we've got is unbelievable. I talk about it all the time. The characters we've got no egos. We've got everyone fighting for the same cause. We've got everyone together. We know that come the World Cup, and even just now, we've got a 26-man squad going into tomorrow. Only 11 can play. You need then the other 15 to be right on board with you, and they always are. Even the lads that don't play as much or whatever, they always show up, they always bring positive energy, and I think that's so important. And to be fair to our backroom staff, we've got a great backroom staff behind us that just drive the energy and drive everything behind it and just keep us going all the time. And it's a special group to be involved in, and I just hope we can achieve more together and have a really good summer.
You get the sense he is really up for that, and why not? His 91st cap. He's excited for the games.
Amazing games to be involved in. Obviously qualifying for the World Cup, what it's, how a big achievement it was and things like that, but also you probably didn't understand the perks of it and the fact of being able to play these amazing countries. The fact that you're playing warm-up games against Japan and obviously Ivory Coast on Tuesday. These games don't usually happen. If I think back about how many caps that I've got and how many would be teams from out of Europe, there's maybe I could count in one hand. So yeah, amazing games to be involved in, but also, give us a feel for it to how, different continents and things like that play football as well, because it is sometimes very different. And we're really looking forward to both games, obviously starting with tomorrow, being back at Hampden after a long wait. And yeah, it'll be good preparation for us come the summer.
And that's what Stephen was saying earlier on, Barry. It's great to be playing teams from other continents rather than just European teams.
I think that's important as well, because you're used to playing European teams. So I think it's important that you're going to a World Cup and you're coming up against different teams from different continents who have got a total different way of playing. You heard Stevie Clark earlier, Japan play in a really different way. They're a good team, and so is the Ivory Coast. So yeah, there'll be interesting games to watch, because we don't obviously watch many of these, because we don't see Scotland playing these sort of teams. So yeah, I'm certainly going to look forward to watching both games.
Scotland, the World Cup, England, the World Cup, as we know. What a shame last night for Wales, Ireland and Northern Ireland, wasn't it, Barry?
It was. I watched that. I was going between all the games, as you do. It was disappointing to see them no qualify.
Did you think Wales were going to do it?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Wales are a good team. They're a good team to watch. I think Craig Bellamy's done a really good job there. But you could see in his presser, I actually watched his presser today, you could see he was he was absolutely devastated, and so you would. But Bosnia weren't the worst team either. They were
quite physical.
And then the last 20 minutes, they were really putting them under severe pressure, and they got the equaliser with 3 or 4 minutes to go, and then they obviously qualify. So, disappointing.
Michael O'Neill, of course, always looking for a Scottish connection, the ex-Dundee United and Hibs man. Stephen, you'd watched some of it last night?
It was. I had Ireland and Wales on the laptop and the TV. Northern Ireland one was, it's a tall order. Going to Italy, who've missed the last couple of tournaments. They've taken the game to Atalanta to make it even. Know how good Atalanta have been in the last few years at home, but it's a really intimidating place. I felt they were up against it. But in both penalty shootouts, you're actually in the game, Wales and Ireland both go up 1-0 and 2-0. But in the penalty shootouts, they followed up the penalty saves or the penalty misses with 2 really poor penalties. And sometimes, I know it's the hardest thing in the world, but sometimes you're just thinking, if you'd score that one, if you score the one after the miss, what a position you're in. Easy said and done. But it's a blow, because there is games at the tournament where if Wales are playing in a team, there's so much more interest in Bosnia, and vice versa with Ireland. And Italy's a bit different, because they're one of the teams that might beat England.
If they get through.
Get through. But I would think I think they go to Bosnia.
They've won it, England already, do you know?
That's coming home and all that.
Yeah.
Barry, your old pal, Rino Gattuso, and he took it away from the San Siro because he said they're going to be booed there.
It was interesting that they took it from the San Siro and the bigger stadiums into a smaller stadium because of the pressure that would put on the Italian players, because they've not qualified for the last few competitions. So that was interesting, because you think of the Italians, they've got a bit of swagger about them, and so I was interested to hear that interview, and that's the reason why they took it to Bergamo.
08, 17, 700. Scotland's going to be there in 84 days before the World Cup 2026 kicks off. Stephen, you're going to be there?
Going to all 3 games.
All 3 games? Wow. Yeah. Hey. Do you know someone in the team? No. Mark Guidi bounced into the studio last night. I said, you're in good form, you're chipper. He said, I was out with James McFadden there and we had a coffee with John McGinn. So it's great. I love the fact that they're back in Glasgow. Remember, for ages they were through at Oriam and all. No harm to Edinburgh and all the rest of it, but you want to be in the football capital of Scotland. Why would we be elsewhere?
Yeah, and I think the players like it as well. I think with the location in the hotel, you're adults. A lot of these guys are dads with kids, and it's nice to get away from that stress to play the football and do what you would do at your leisure as a club side, instead of maybe being marooned at times. I'm sure Barry was being at times where there's nowhere to walk to, there's nobody to the players can nip out and have a coffee socially and be amongst the people and the fans and not cause any harm. So I know they definitely enjoy being back there and the facilities over at Leicester. Yeah,
because Barry used to be down by Loch Lomond, but a beautiful hotel and all the rest of it.
Stunning, but you were middle of nowhere.
Sure.
And as I said, I think being in Glasgow, that obviously Stevie Clark puts his trust in him, so they'll have a bit of it. There's a lot of free time when you're away with international, so it's important that they can get out and get a coffee and meet friends and family, but also they've got a brilliant facility at Lesser Hampden. It looks like a bowling green there, so they're well looked after there.
I think the players now, Barry, and I'm looking at you, they're better behaved than the next generation. The parents probably are, aren't they? They are. They're so professional now.
You've got to be, listen, I think you've got to be an absolute athlete now to play football. No, that me and Stephen weren't athletes.
No, absolutely.
The biggest problem for the players is, seriously, is camera phones. I mean, you literally, after the last time when they beat Denmark, obviously, you go on a 2-day bender, as you do. It's one of the big, you're going to the World Cup, but
is it Kong?
You're seeing it all over. You're seeing it all over social media, and it's. I know people meet their heroes and stuff like that, but sometimes you think, just leave them alone.
Sure.
They're allowed to did something special the night before.
They deserve a night at Wonderbar. Yeah.
But that night was absolute mental.
Yeah.
That was one of the craziest games that I've watched, and to win it in the manner that we did was just
Barry, those goals, the McTominay, Shankland, every one of them, Kieran Tierney in injury time, and then of course Kenny McLean. I mean, it's just phenomenal.
It was, and against a very good Denmark team.
Sure.
Let's be honest. But yeah, just watching it, it was just mental. That's a game you'll never forget, and certainly the boys that played in it. I mean, that must have been the celebrations must have been brilliant, and they thoroughly deserved to go out and just let their hair down for a day or 5.
I had a bit of dampener with the World Cup the other night because a game flashed up on social media, and it was the last semi-final France won, and it was Morocco they beat.
Yeah,
I thought, of course, we've been drawn against the World Cup semi-finalists in the last tournament alongside Brazil. So it puts a lot on that Haiti game to get the business done.
Yeah, it's going to have to be. It's going to be phenomenal though.
I think they'll go through.
Yes.
I honestly, I'm going to say early doors. I think they'll get out the group stage.
We need to beat Haiti, and that might even be enough.
I think with the way the format is, I think 1-1 might be enough, as long as you don't take a doing in the other 2 games. I think 1-1 might be enough, which might take a bit of the edge off the competitiveness in the early rounds, especially for the bigger nations. But it sets us right up if we get the Haiti job done.
Yeah, let's hear a wee bit more from the manager, but he wants that momentum from November when we qualified to continue.
Yeah, it would be important. It would be nice to think that we can continue where we were after the qualifying campaign. I think we've shown that our qualifying record is very good. Our record in friendlies is not so good, so that's something that we'd like to address as well.
And let's hear Andy Robertson, the captain, speak about tomorrow's game against Japan.
Look, the Japanese team's a really good team. You've got a really, really good national team, a team that's full of quality, real high energy, work so hard for each other. That's clear to see, and it'll be a difficult game tomorrow, but I think it's about both of us trying to prepare for the World Cup. You know, obviously you guys will be hoping to do something special as well out there, and these games are just about preparing for it. Obviously you want to win the game, you want to be competitive, but it's also about, you know, trying to prepare the best as you can for summer. That's the aim now. Everything's working towards that, and the game we've got tomorrow is a really exciting one, and you know, we're all really looking forward to it.
Johnny's on. He's asking, what's your team, Barry? What's your team, Stephen? I'm going to ask you just after the break.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
Counting down to Scotland against Japan tomorrow, and then Tuesday in Everton at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, I think it is. Yep. That's going to be Tuesday night. What about tomorrow, Barry? Who do you fancy? Oh, sorry, tonight. Wraith Rovers, Ayr United. Can I throw the games at you for this evening? Who do you fancy on that one?
It's a tough one. Both of them need a win.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Wraith Rovers.
Stephen, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the firepower, if you can get Louis Vaughan and Dylan Easton on fire under the lights, I think they can get the job done.
And Partick Thistle, Ross County?
Yeah, we've got to fancy Thistle. Such a big, I mean, the money Roy McGregor pours into that football club, the thought of them back-to-back relegations, it's scary. Just shows you how competitive football is, and it's never too easy. I think Partick are a better side. I think they'll win tonight.
And it could be a really tough summer for the North. We'll talk about Aberdeen in a minute. Barry, who do you fancy on that one? Partick Thistle, Ross County?
Partick Thistle. I'm just listening to Stephen there. Ross County, the squad they've got, the money that's been invested, where they are, they're in real danger. You get down there and need to get some wins quickly.
I remember they looked quite comfortable early last season, early on. There was a period where they were doing well.
I worked at St Mirren last year, and on the last game before the split, St Mirren pipped Ross County to the top 6.
Wow.
potentially back-to-back relegations.
Wow, and that was just last season.
Of
course. I thought, my memory was they were doing well. Tomorrow, Barry, the Ton against the Red Lichties.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is,
Arbroath
isn't it?
again, part-time in
yeah.
a championship.
Yep.
Morton, good result last week against Ayr United. Oh, that's a... I'm going to go a draw.
You're going to draw, Stephen?
Yeah, Arbroath, another amazing season for part-time team. I actually, when I watched Morton, we were up at Aberdeen, watched the game on the Friday night. I was really impressed against Partick Thistle. I thought Morton played well. And I think I've got to go draw as well. Nothing between them.
And you both going for the home win, St Johnstone, Queen's Park? Or
yeah, I just think St Johnstone now are just going to just go for it, and I think they'll win pretty comfortably. I've been impressed with Simo Valakari.
Yep.
Obviously getting relegated, he's got a certain way of playing. I think his recruitment's been very good in the championship. So yeah, I think they've got it in their sights now, and they'll just tick each game, and I think they'll beat Queen's Park pretty convincingly.
Stephen, yeah.
I think that sometimes, I mean, the director of football thing splits opinions in this country. I hope he's not listening because I'm saying nice things about him. But the one thing Simo Valakari's got to call in there is Gus McPherson.
Right, yeah.
Who's won the division before. He's worked in the lower leagues. He knows what's required. So a lot of their signings were top end championship players that instead of actually just going and, right, we've got Premier League players, let's go and pay more money for Premier League. Let's go and get some guys the blood and guts of the championship. They know what it's like to be up at the top end, and with the Premiership quality on top of that, do it that way. And I think there's a nod to kind of, because Simo Valakari wouldn't have known a lot about the Scottish Championship and the type of games, what type of player was available at obviously the reduction in wages. So nod to when a sporting director can work.
David's on, an Aberdeen fans saying, guys, what's going to happen? Are we going down like a stone, or is Stevie Robinson going to be able to turn it round? Stephen McGinn, you played under him at St Mirren. You worked on the staff just over a year ago. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it was an interesting one because obviously that all broke with Stephen getting in at Aberdeen a couple of days before you play them.
Yeah.
And there's all that, I mean, everything you've worked on in the lead up to Aberdeen and the way Peter Leven had them set up and who he might play, that's all wrapped up, all that work you do on the Tuesday. And then there's a debate, does the manager go in or does he watch it from the stand? From the interviews very quickly, he was wanting to come in and put his own stamp on it right away. So right away you knew he was going to go back to the back five. We were pretty confident that he would bring in Lazetic as a big striker, and very quickly looked like a Stephen Robinson team, kind of what he was building, what he worked on at St Mirren. And I think it's always easy to kick the big teams when they're down there. And we've spent a lot of money, and you look at, I mean, there's some really talented players. I think the boy Keskin's a really top player. You feel as if he's just someone needs to just unlock that door, and he can do what he wants because he's got everything. That's such a mammoth game, that one in Paisley next week for Aberdeen, because once you get into the split, being the big team, you're in a dogfight. Everyone's in the same dogfight, but you're the ones that are actually having to play well and win. So if they can go to Paisley and just get over the line, the 3 points, I think that gives them a bit of breathing space, because you do worry about the big club in a dogfight. You've seen Hibs go, you've seen Hearts go in the last few years.
They wasted so much time, didn't they, doing the dance with foreign managers coming in? It didn't happen, and then they turned to Stephen Robinson, whom they should have got in January, Barry, just after he'd won the cup with St Mirren.
Just a strange way that they operated. Very surprising. They called themselves a big club. The way it was done was just, I don't understand it. The fans are clearly frustrated. I think they're in with a real chance of finishing second bottom. We're going to see over the next few weeks how they're going to go about it. I know Stephen Robinson, obviously Stephen's worked under him. Very impressed with the job he done it at St Mirren. But this is a different kettle of fish. I don't know if the players that they've got have got the heart for it.
That's what it looks like.
I honestly don't. I watched them last week against Rangers, and at no time did I ever feel threatened.
Even when they pulled back to, was it 2-1?
No, it was like Rangers. it was more like how's Rangers going to react, in my opinion. But Rangers just get their heads down and banged another couple of goals in. But this is nitty gritty for them now. And then, as you mentioned there, next weekend they're going to St Mirren, and St Mirren have clearly got a bit of confidence when getting a good result at Stevens Falkirk. So I think they can get dragged into it. It's only 3 points. Only 3 points, Paul. And Kilmarnock on the high now.
Neil McCann, Billy Dodds have done great at Kilmarnock. We beat them 5-1 at Falkirk. We scored after, it was at 30 seconds a minute. We watched a lot of them. They've been so good at Rugby Park. Some of the games so high energy, so brave. The kind of line we played, we felt like if obviously scoring an early goal, they're going to still come and try and play an attack, and we picked them off on that particular day. But the bit I liked about them, even when they lost 5-1, they were still high energy, a lot of spirit. And it wasn't like you beat a team down at relegation 5-1. You've all seen that movie before where some of the players have chucked that and you're going, I don't know where they go next. I thought even when they brought a goal back, I think we were 3-0 and Greg Kilty brings one back, you're actually a wee bit worried because how kind of front foot and in the game Kilmarnock were. So it's going to get interesting because Dundee, I think Dundee have been a really good side, really hard to play against all season, some really good players in the team, and from nowhere a couple of results and they look as if they could get dragged back into it. So it's going to be such a good split. Not everyone's a fan of the split, but this year it's going to be just electric.
So much to look forward to, Barry. The last
certainly at the top of the table, but also at the bottom.
There,
look at the 4 teams that could finish second bottom. Look, I think Livingston will finish bottom. But then you look Kilmarnock, St Mirren, Aberdeen, Dundee. What is it? 5 points between the 4 of them.
Yeah. Wow.
That's going to be interesting.
It's phenomenal. 15 points, Livy, they've gone. 27 for Kelly and St Mirren. Aberdeen just 3 better on 30. Dundee 32. Dundee United 37 points.
Just from being that I've been in enough relegation battles. See weekends like that. So you've got that game at Ibrox and you're looking at all the other games, you're thinking, right, St Mirren are at Falkirk, Dundee United, they've got Celtic. We take this weekend just passing, kind of no damage. Dundee United go and beat Celtic, which totally kind of takes them out at St Mirren win at Falkirk when it's a second away win in the season. Kilmarnock have a really solid win at home, and you go all 3 teams around us have won, and it's such a horrible place to be, and the time just drags into the next game. So huge game that next week in Paisley.
And David, who was on the Aberdeen fan, so you were sucked towards it, with the wins for St Mirren last week and for Kilmarnock. Barry's on, it's a different Barry, just saying, what about Mo Salah? You both love your football. How much will Liverpool miss him, and just how good has he been?
Oh, he's been amazing for Liverpool, but I just think the time's right. I think it's the right thing for both Mo Salah and Liverpool. He's not been great this season, but he's still been good. But I just think everything comes to an end. Like he's had a brilliant time. Been a phenomenal player, one of the greats at Liverpool, one of the best Premier League players. But time moves on, and I think it's the best time for both to part their ways.
But 2 months to go, Barry, and he's announced it. So, wonder what the effect will be on Liverpool.
I don't think it will affect Liverpool, or it will affect the fans. I think the fans will understand what a brilliant player he was, and I'm sure. Listen, he looks to me if he's the ultimate pro. He'll still give it everything until the last game of the season.
Stephen?
See, it's a dilemma. You see it all the time, and you can see it from, obviously, I've not played at that level. But if he had left last summer, for him personally, he leaves one of Liverpool's greatest forward players. He leaves off the back of the league, the league win last year, and just end of an era. And then there's a bit that probably gets kept there, maybe a wee bit of emotion, but a bit of, I don't want to look like a money grabber if I still get something to offer. But you probably knew a wee bit the manager wasn't exactly, managers want to move that on from Jurgen Klopp's team. You can see it, he's not always played Mo Salah. And you look back now and think, I bet he wishes he just did it last summer. He just went and played like Sadio Mane did, like Roberto Firmino left, and went and played out their football, because he won't have enjoyed that being a sub this year, because it's not a vintage Liverpool team, and one of your greatest ever forwards is kicking his heels at times, and
they kind of fall out with the manager a few months ago.
So that is a dilemma sometimes. I mean, you see the way Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I know. Crikey.
And Mo Salah's maybe
he must not be mentioned anymore.
Mo Salah's maybe, I don't want to be remembered like that, but maybe it would have just been nice to move on last summer.
And at Villa, Andy's been on, a different Andy, just saying about Unai Emery. We don't often talk about English football to this extent, but I think he's thinking about John as captain there. Down south, they are talking about Emery, who might move on because of the financial constraints around the club. So I'm not asking you as John's brother, far from it. But Villa's a massive club, but they are constrained, aren't they, because of the fair play?
It's brutal. It's honestly brutal. It's I can't say it 'cause it's not me saying it. And
sure.
I'm obviously Villa's my team, so I want John to do well. And there's bits that just don't make sense about the whole thing. This club's obviously you don't get access to all the papers and stuff like that. But see, like Jacob Ramsey needing to get sold to Newcastle. Newcastle losing the midfielder Elliot Anderson.
Anderson.
To Nottingham Forest. So boyhood Aston Villa fan, a boyhood Geordie, needing to move to
For
the
this
FFP.
financial,
And then I read the other day on Twitter that Villa might still need to sell a player even if they get Champions League football. And you're thinking, it's one, it doesn't seem fair, but two, how are you actually meant to break into this as an Aston Villa, as a Newcastle? How are you actually, because I know the owners at Aston Villa are absolutely desperate to go and try and win the Premier League.
Are they? Yeah.
One of the great English clubs, one of the best managers in the world, but they can't.
Yeah.
They
And they've got the money, haven't
unless
they?
they do a Leicester where you need the big guns to have an off season, like maybe Celtic Rangers are having this year. You actually can't, and that feels wrong for the game.
Barry, it sounds like unfair play. It's not fair, is it? I don't know enough about it.
It's when you've got owners that are wanting to back the manager and make the team even better than what it is. It feels as if they've getting stopped from doing that, and it makes it easier for the clubs that are generally always finishing first, second and third, that are always going for the title. Well, it's only been two for the last number of years. Well, three, sorry, with Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City. But listen, Aston Villa, look, one of the best places to play football. I love playing there. It was an iconic stadium, amazing atmosphere, and they are a massive club. Aston Villa.
I was there with Scotland, obviously Euro '96, and Ali McCoy scoring, and the game was at Switzerland game.
Some goal.
I know, wasn't it magnificent? But sadly, we didn't go through. But will we go through this time? Listen, talking about international football, club football as well, a wee bit about England there. So Andy Robertson was asked about his future because his contract is up in just a matter of weeks, isn't it? 10 weeks or so. This is what he said today.
My thoughts will stay private. They always have. Obviously, I think I've been quite consistent with the Liverpool press down there that anything that happens will happen in-house, and once there's an announcement to make, then I'll make it to them. But I don't think it would be fair to them for me to come away and Scotland duty and talk about Liverpool, just like, if there was ever an announcement around Scotland, I would never do it down in Liverpool, I'd do it up here. So, we've been, obviously there's been a lot of discussions had and things like that internally. I've always got to work out what me and my family want and everything like that, and that's always been consistent. And we know the end of the season's coming, and obviously we'll need to make a decision soon, and that decision will come, and then everyone will find out where or when or whatever I'm doing, and that will be the plan.
Wonder what the decision will be. You often hear about Celtic, but it's unlikely they would need him just now. They've got Kieran Tierney.
Yeah, I don't see why Celtic would go and I know it's a free transfer, but I'd imagine the salary. I know he's made a hell of a lot of money, but you've got Kieran Tierney there. I wouldn't see the need for Celtic to bring in Andy Robertson, but I'm sure there'll be loads of Premier League teams. There'll be teams all over the globe be desperate to sign a player of that quality.
Tottenham were mentioned in January. Stephen, what do you reckon? I mean, he probably will go this summer. What do you think?
I think he's still too good for Championship football.
Yeah. He sure is.
Mad story at Tottenham. What I would say is probably there's a lot of Liverpool fans are splitting whether they get rid of the manager or not.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be shocked if a new manager was to come in that they would want to keep Andy Robertson about, because everyone's probably watching the same stuff. We're obviously biased up here with Andy, but you're thinking there's nothing Kerkez can do that Andy Robertson can't do. There's maybe the bits he's getting a bit older, and maybe a half yard of pace, but it will only be a half yard if it's any. Because he's still the same quality, and it sounds like he's going to move on if the manager's going to be in place.
We haven't yet mentioned Scott McTominay. Everyone loves him, and I was reading the players themselves, even round the camp, that we're talking about the leaders: Robertson, McGinn, McTominay, Barry. What can you say about him that hasn't been said already?
Well, look what he's done over the last couple of years, not just with the national team, but with Napoli. He's a living legend over there. And you just think back to why did Manchester United let him go? I thought it was a crazy decision at the time, and only for, I think I'm saying only, I know it's a hell of a lot of money, but £30 million or something like that. Yeah, he's been unbelievable for both country and club, and he'll be a big player for Scotland, no doubt about that, in the summer.
Last night, Charlie Mulgrew said, look, this wasn't where he had him initially, but he said, is there any chance that we would play him up front, up top? We were talking in the context of Shea Adams, Lyndon Dykes, Tommy Conway in there, whatever. And he said, just when you see the goal that he scored against Denmark, I mean, and that's where he started out. Stephen, do you know what he was thinking? You can see it.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's probably the same debate with Celtic fans about Nygren.
Yeah, sure.
Some are split about, obviously, you can't ignore the goals and assists, but they're split about him actually as a midfielder. But part of the thing with the goal scoring midfielder is you have a striker and you time your run into the box. It's a different game. Back to goal, you need to bring players into play. I get it, but also I can see why managers don't do it.
He's better coming onto the ball.
Yeah.
McTominay, he's run similar to John McGinn. I think that when you let them off, at least they two players, they're such dangerous midfielders running into the box. They're timing the runs off a main striker. I think that's both McTominay and McGinn's best position.
Who would Barry go for tomorrow night? Who would Stephen go for? Going to tell you after this.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
Jimmy Carr's good fun as well, isn't he? I saw him just at the end of last year. Honestly, I didn't think I would like him. He was hilarious at the Ovo Hydro. He was so funny, and he likes to be. At certain times, you can heckle, and he's so bright. Clever.
They're so sharp, these guys.
Oh yeah.
Sharp as a tack.
He is good. Have you seen him, Stephen? Yeah.
No, I've only ever went to see Kevin Bridges.
All right, okay.
No, really stand up. Like I like watching it or whatever, but it's not
I'm
something
the same as you actually. No, but honestly, Jimmy Carr, it was absolutely brilliant. And okay, I don't know how we get into that. Just we're talking about the SEC and Peter Kay on next weekend. Scotland are on tomorrow night. So a few of you have been asking, what's your team lineup? Stephen, will we go to you first then? What do you reckon the starting 11 tomorrow night will be? And remember, sorry, there's 11 subs as well, apparently. You can play 11 players in addition.
That means the second half's going to be stop-start.
Yep.
Another problem I've got with friendlies.
Yeah.
I'm basing it on what I think Steve Clark will go with. I think he'll go get Angus Gunn in goals.
Yep.
Just because of, I know he's lost his place in the Rangers team, but I think John Souttar will play the right of the three. I think Scott McKenna in the middle, and I think Kieran Tierney will go back to the left of the three. Nathan Patterson and Andy Robertson as the two wing backs. I'm not sure what he'll do between Billy Gilmour and Lewis Ferguson. Obviously, Lewis Ferguson played that kind of defensive role against Denmark, that famous night.
Yep.
But I wonder if with Billy being back in the squad, if he'll want to give him game time, having missed the last camp. I've gone with John and beside one of them with Christie and McTominay. But I'm aware he could maybe go Gilmour and Ferguson with John up. But I just think with Christie playing every week, you'll keep him. He's quite often went with Christie in that position. So Christie and McTominay behind Shea Adams.
Barry, what do you reckon?
I'm not far away from that, if I'm being honest with you. But again, who knows? This could be totally wrong because it's a friendly game. I'll go with, I think he'll give Scott Bain.
Right.
I go because he's, for the simple fact he's played regular football. Yep. Same back three, Souttar, McKenna and Tierney. Two wing backs, Patterson and Robertson. Gilmour and Lewis. In front of them, McTominay and John McGinn and Shea Adams. Up top.
Not much difference there, was there? No.
But then, I could be totally wrong.
And it's a friendly. Scott Bain, what's he like to work with?
Yeah, with someone I knew, I played with him at Dundee early in his career, and he was excellent for Dundee as a young goalkeeper. What I liked about him was he was such a big character, and he'd just come out of part time. He'd been released with Aberdeen. He'd went to Alloa. He'd such a kind of top mindset. He used to, even as a young goalkeeper, I'd joined in the January, and our captain at the time was Kevin Thompson. There was some big characters in there. James McPake, obviously going on to be a manager. Guys like Paul McGowan, but Bainey was one of the ones that would come in at half time and start calling people out, and the manager would maybe say, "Thought you could have saved that, Scott," and he'd have said, "Well, I thought Stephen or Kevin Thompson could have tracked her on." Or so it was, I mean, there's ways of looking at it, digging out your teammates, but I always quite liked it. I always quite liked he had that arrogance of he was comfortable not speaking about it behind people's back. He was just saying, "Look,
sure,
you track her on, I might not make a save. I should have maybe saved that."
Yeah.
What we've got at Falkirk now is a kind of even a better version, because he's still he's never been shy of opinions, but he's been around a big club for a long time. He's got a big club mindset. He's never shy in giving his opinion, but it's in a really constructive way. And first and foremost, a good goalkeeper. He makes saves. He's key to the way we play. We run the risk of him losing the goal we lost up at Aberdeen because we ask a lot of him. We go to him a lot. We ask him to take the extra touch at times to kind of invite presses on or to get our rotations in. So we ask a lot of him, and he has to take on board the mistakes. And he's just been a really good signing from the manager.
And Barry, what about Lewis? We're all surprised here. He's not playing as much this season as he was previously.
No, he's not. Ideally, he wants to be playing every week, but the new manager tends to change. Different team for league, different team for Europa League, which is no ideal, because I'm sure he'll be a bit frustrated himself as a player. As I said, you want to play every week, but this is an opportunity to go and get a few minutes under his belt, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play, because he's been playing in a deeper role for Scotland. Stephen just mentioned it earlier. I like him further forward, but when you look at the competition you've got in there, the good thing about all the players in there, probably I would say apart from Billy Gilmer, who likes to be kind of that anchor in the middle of the pitch, like Lewis, McTominay, McGinn, they can all play deeper midfielder, but also they can play further forward in the pitch. So there's good flexibility between them.
Here's Andy Robertson speaking about the momentum the team have. Obviously, everybody just so looking forward to the World Cup.
We've got to use these games to our benefit as well. You know, being able to, if I'm right, I think there's availability of 11 subs tomorrow and things like that. Whether the manager uses them is a different thing, but it's also the chance to see the whole squad and, to see what other lads can do, young lads coming in and things like that. So I think the manager's always been pretty good at using these games, good as well to see if things work or maybe don't work and things like that. So we want to go into the World Cup with momentum, of course we do. But I think we're going to feel that regardless. But positive results always brings positivity as well, and we look forward to these two games. We know they'll be difficult, and then obviously this summer we'll ramp it up a bit, and then it's just a countdown till the first qualifying game.
I think we heard the manager saying earlier, friendlies can be difficult sometimes, and our record's not been great in them in recent times, whereas we've been really, really good against the odds in qualifying. So what about the crowd tomorrow night and the importance they'll play?
Yeah, it's a tough one because, I think it'll be very hard to match the atmosphere in November. Obviously it's a friendly and it's always a bit more subdued, but I think there'll be a lot of excitement for people to get back into Hampden. I think yesterday was the first time I was back over here since the game in November, and then I walked out the tunnel and just Kenny McLean was actually stood in the middle of the park doing an interview with our media guys, and it just brought a big massive smile to my face. And I think a lot of people will have that tomorrow, coming with their families, walking up the stairs, remembering what, that day and that game. And I just think there'll be a lot of happy faces tomorrow, just remembering what happened in November. But it's now important that we look forward. That game was massive for us because it meant we go to the World Cup, but now we're looking forward to Japan. We're looking forward to the home game in the summer before we go as a big send-off, and then it's down to work to try and achieve something special when we're over there.
I thought he was going to say there Kenny McLean was still practising chip, shoot, beat the keeper, which is a moment Barry will never forget.
Yeah, it was a great way to end the game. brilliant thought in terms of it just shows you he's a good quality midfielder, nice left foot. He's done really well. Again, he's one of the players that doesn't start every game, but he's one that I'm sure Stevie Clark, well, I'm positive Stevie Clark trusts big time, because he's always in the squads, and if he doesn't start, he always gets on at some stage in the game.
Final word from Stevie Clark.
Yeah, it would be important. It would be nice to think that we can continue where we were after the qualifying campaign. I think we've shown that our qualifying record is very good. Our record in friendlies is not so good. So that's something that we'd like to address as well.
Stephen, tomorrow then, we've only got 90 seconds left. So we've talked about the fact that, I mean, the main thing is we're going to the World Cup, and you've got to give the coaches time to do what they want to do in the two friendlies, I reckon.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult time. It's brilliant just now, this international break with the playoffs last night and stuff like that. It's a bit challenging just now for so many players in that squad fighting on all fronts. There'll be a bit of pressure applied from club managers just to say, look,
of course.
So I'm not expecting a classic tomorrow. I'm not saying it's not worth going to. It'd be great to greet them back. It's the first time the fans will have seen them in a long time. But I think the friendlies just before the World Cup, when it really cranks up, when Steve Clark can get messages in and the sharpness, I think there'll be a bit of pressure on these players to commit yourself, but
of course,
not overly. Yeah. We're fighting for trophies here and survival.
Of course. And Barry, you don't want to miss your club football, and you don't want to miss the World Cup. Chance of a lifetime.
No, you don't, and it's important after these two friendly games that you go back and you hit the ground running, because this is the time I'm sure Stevie Clark will be sitting down with his staff and going through the squad. I know Stephen mentioned earlier, I think you're guaranteed there's a good 17, 18 players know they're going to be on that plane. So I think there's a few spaces available, but it's up to them to go and show their mettle and prove to the manager that they should be going to the World Cup. We're
going to ask you for cup semi-final, maybe final tickets. Stephen, good luck with the match against Neil Lennon's Dunfermline, and then of course St Mirren playing Celtic. But we're out of time. Enjoy tomorrow. Stephen, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks, Paul.
Barry, great to see you as always. You're back on Monday.
Cheers, Paul.
Have a brilliant weekend, everyone. Come on, Scotland.